Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am in my old studio for a few days, so excuse me for the bad setup. I'm using my phone to film in this video, but I was working on the November project for Patreon, and I thought there are a few tips that I can give you also on YouTube, to inspire you a little bit as usual, or to help you improve a few things. Little news that I still have to share with YouTube. I have bought the Ableton Push. I know I am late to the party, everybody already has it, but it was time, and I'm also happy with it. It helped me a lot. I experimented with it for the first time working on this project, so maybe something changed also in the way I came up with ideas. This video will be about 3 groups of tips. Let's say the first one is about drums. It will be a quick video, by the way. The first one is about drums, the second one is about bass line, and the third group of tips, I think there are a few, is about synthesizers. Let's get it started. So let's give a quick listen to the track. So far I've been working just on the creation of the main loop, so I have all of my clips just on one row. This is how I work. I create the busiest loop of the track so that I have enough elements to use them in the arrangement later. Of course, some of the elements won't play together, but at the moment pretty much every element is switched on. Okay, that's pretty much it. So as you can hear, it's quite of a simple track, a groovy track, So let's start from the drums. I've already did, but I really invite you to check the drum kits from Ableton. There are really good drums. In this case, I'm using the 808 core kit for the main elements of the track, so the kick, the toms. The kick sounds so good. So this is what I did with the 808 core kit only. So it sounds very nice. The kick is punchy, it's rich, it has a lot of harmonics, because I also pushed a little bit the drive. There are some macros already in the presets that you can experiment with, so I'm pretty happy with it. The second tip is about trying to make your drums a little bit more interesting, because we tend to use always the same sounds. Everybody uses the same cowbells, the same claps. So what I sometimes do is trying to make these sounds, these very simple sounds that are very classic, I try to turn them into something a bit more interesting. And one of the way that I do that is using some modulating type of effects. So for example, here on the rim shot from the 808, I use this phaser, which simply turns the rim shot from the classic one, which is something like this, into something that changes a little bit more. Third tip about drums, is the third, I don't even know, but anyway, the last tip about drums that I want to give you, I've already said this in my Patreon when I talk about drums. I went really in depth on this topic, is the thing of creating 2 levels of drums. The first one are the main drums, so the drums that give energy to the track. The second level is the background level of drums, and I use it to create groove, to create the rollingness that I think I talked about many times. And these sounds needs to stay a little bit more in the background of your track, but still they're doing a great job. So I want you to hear how the drum sounds without those background elements. So these are the drums. So still they're working. If I switch everything else on, they work, but it's a bit boring. So let's check. I have this group here where I put all of the, let's say, background drums that I have many sounds, but a lot of them are muted because I got a little bit too excited that I put too many, but I think it works with a little bit less. So this is how it sounds. So it's very simple, and I think the 2 main sounds are these ones, these 2 hats. these two sounds, but check the difference with and without this group. So again, the drums without, and let's switch this on now. So it's different. I could have done more, I could have done it differently. This is how it came out, but what I want you to notice is there is something a bit different. Most of the sounds are placed at a lower volume, and with sounds that are a bit softer, so for example acoustic drums, and sounds that are placed in the 16th positions, the positions of groove. But not only, for example, this second sound is also placed here on the downbeat. Consider working on these two levels and thinking in two levels. Let's move now to the group of tips about bassline, but before moving on, I invite you to click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you didn't yet. This is a phrase that I said long time ago, the last time, so I think I'm allowed to say it again. Subscribe to the channel, please. It would be cool to, grow the community on YouTube. Okay, let's talk about the bassline now. So the first tip is try to make a bassline sometimes that gives space to the other elements, so that leaves some blank spaces. It doesn't have to be playing all of the time. So in this case, I left quite of a big blank space in the bassline. As you can see, we have a long silence in this position, and there is space for other elements to come up. So let's check the electric piano, let's check the other synths that are playing in this part. So I don't feel that something is missing. I think it's pretty good anyway, also with this big gap. And also, it gives you possibility to experiment with other sounds. For example, in this case, I have this fizzling pad, which is the main element of the track that I came up with. It's not a bass line because it doesn't have sub frequencies, but still it covers that frequency range also when the bass line is not playing. So when you make your bass line, consider trying that as an option. And the second thing is about using these higher notes. These are what I call the funky notes, because they give this rhythmic effect and this funky effect to your bass line. And these are working pretty good also with the drums, with the percussions. There is this sort of overlap between toms and these higher notes of the bass line, which to me is pretty interesting and it gives groove to the track. So these were two tips for the bass line. Let's now move to the last part, which is just one tip that I have for synths. So in this case, as you can hear, I didn't use a proper pad. You don't always have to use a pad, okay? So I know that it's a struggle for a lot of people creating melodies, creating nice synth line. Try to go with the flow, try to experiment. Put down a simple MIDI sequence and then change the preset on Ableton. If the first sound sucks, probably the second one could sound better with that sequence. Some sequences don't sound very good with one sound, but they sound way better with another type of sound. So try to scroll through the presets, put down some notes like I did here, and then scroll through the presets. This line came out pretty good, and it's also super simple. So simplicity is the main rule. So it's 4 notes that repeat exactly the same, and then it goes up on 2 other notes, okay? And it works. And I love it, okay? The other sounds that I have here, same thing. I tried to create this hypnotic sound where you keep doing the same thing. You don't have to do long sequences. You can do just 1 bar, 2 bars maximum. You do a very simple repetitive sequence that gets hypnotic, but also that helps the rhythm. And this is, I think, the case for this other sound that I use here. So it slightly changes between a measure and the other. And this is still from Ableton. All of these sounds are from Ableton. I forgot to mention that when I work on my Patreon projects, I stick to Ableton samples and instruments because I want everybody to be able to use them. It's a very cool sound, and in the track it sounds super good. Let me switch off the other synth that I have here. So it's super cool and it's repetitive, it's simple, okay? So consider that. I have to say that Ableton Push 2 helped me a lot to do this kind of melodies. It's a different way from using a normal keyboard because the buttons are placed in a different way, okay? So when you start playing it, you really come up with different combinations of notes. It helped me to come up with nice sequences, nice melodies. I don't want to tell you buy the Push so you can make good sequences, but for sure, if you have it, you know that changing the workflow can help you to get new ideas. The last sound is just this piano. Gets more in the complicated section because, you know, when you play chords and these kind of things, it's a bit more complicated, but still I did it with the Ableton Push, so it was way simpler to come up with this cool and warm and jazzy type of sound. I think the next thing that I will do on the track is looking for a nice vocal to add. I was looking into this video. I'm a fan of this songwriter called Lizzie McAlpine, and she has some older videos where she sings a cappella, and I think...
I quite like it. I say you do it.
Okay. And I think I'll try to resample from this video something and see what I can do. So if you're curious, you'll find this project on my Patreon, or if you are late, so if you see this video and subscribe to Patreon in December or later, you will find this project on my website. It's still more convenient in terms of price to subscribe to my Patreon, but still you can find the project also on my website. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know in the comment if you find some new inspiration from this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.